We're getting a breaking news from Kabul. The Taliban is saying that they will delay the announcement on government formation. Interestingly, this comes on the same day as the ISI chief has landed in Kabul. And this is what we told you earlier as well, that the ISI is overseeing the government formation. Probably this is why the Taliban has come out and said that they are delaying the government formation for another week is what we are getting to know. They were earlier supposed to announce their new cabinet, their new government on Friday. They delayed it by 24 hours. It was expected today, but now we're getting to know that it could be any time next week. Abhishek will be joining us live to give us more details because he's the one who is telling us how, in fact, Pakistan could be the real power behind the throne in Afghanistan. While it looks like a Taliban government, but it could be a puppet government of the ISI is also what we're getting to know, because there have been two meetings in a day and at a time when the Taliban is gearing up to form their government and to announce their government. Abhishek is joining us live from the Delhi newsroom. Abhishek, now that the ISI has landed in Kabul, Taliban is saying that they will take some more time to announce their government in Afghanistan. So it's quite clear that probably ISI wants to give it their final touches to the government or the cabinet that is going to be formed in Afghanistan.
Well, Sanika, I would say ISI was always present in Afghanistan and Kabul, and they have deep tentacles there with Taliban, and now with Taliban in the ascendant and forming the government. Obviously, they call the shots. It was a forever dream for the last 3-4 decades for the deep state in Pakistan, particularly the ISI, to have a puppet regime in Kabul, and all the machinations of Pakistan vis-a-vis Afghanistan have been aimed at that. Now, finally, they are close to their dream. But then the fact that Pakistan themselves have not recognized an Afghan government clearly shows that there are some issues left. Taliban themselves are developing these heebie-jeebies, so to say, or butterflies in their stomach, essentially because they realize that this time the scrutiny of international community is much higher. And that's why I think despite the brazenness that is being shown, they are not able to decide on a government. And I think just to tide over that situation where Taliban are not becoming very confident enough to go ahead with the government formation, ISI chief has landed in Kabul to make sure that all those on board and inside the government are those that are screened and approved by ISI itself. So I think what we are seeing is pressure of the global community, but at the same time, Pakistan pushing the envelope. Remember, just a while back, there was a video interview of former ISI chief Hamid Gul, in which he said that first we took money from Americans and threw out the Russians, and now we have taken money from the Americans and are going to throw out the Americans. And that is exactly what has happened. So ISI, one would say, controls the Taliban and hence is trying to control the government formation. But then, as I said, a section within the Taliban is also craving for international recognition, and that's why this delay in forming of government, because they don't know if they go ahead and announce a government of the Haqqani network, and which by proxy is going to be an ISI regime in Kabul, then the international community might not be forthcoming with recognition, and Pakistan can be a slippery player, and that's why this delay is happening. I think the ISI establishment would have realized that there is some issue, and the Taliban is kind of drifting, and that's why, to take a very cold and tight embrace, ISI chief has himself landed in Kabul, Sanika.
So, and Abhishek, while we're talking about international recognition for Taliban, do we also see Pakistan lobbying for Taliban across the globe? Because yesterday we saw how Dominic Raab, UK Foreign Secretary, said that he wouldn't, their government wouldn't recognize Taliban, but it was Shah Mahmood Qureshi who was sharing the stage with him, was sort of pushing the envelope, was pushing the UK to recognize Taliban. So is Pakistan also working simultaneously across the globe, sending out its emissaries and trying to legitimize the Taliban government?
Well, Sanika, I would say in this game of checkers, every nation is guided by their own vested interests. So, for example, the Americans still have some citizens left in Afghanistan, and they would obviously deal with Taliban. In fact, Secretary of State Antony Blinken is flying down to Doha, Qatar next week, and he's going to directly engage with the Taliban. Similarly, for the British, there are a few countries like Denmark that have very openly said that they are not going to have any truck with Taliban whatsoever or a Taliban regime in Kabul. Pakistan, for its sake, I think wants some element of international recognition before they themselves jump into it. Because remember, last time they became the first country to recognize the Taliban regime in Kabul in 1996, and then it did not go anywhere. It remained an illegitimate government. So this time they are playing their game in a manner so that some ready clients, and China, for example, Qatar, for example, then you have other nations like Turkey and UAE for their own reasons and interests wanting to engage with Taliban and possibly recognizing a government when it takes shape. But
Yes.
then the fact that a certain red line has been drawn by the global community that the government has to be inclusive, I think that's something which is creating problems with Taliban little adrift, ISI landing, or ISI chief
Abhishek, I'm
landing in Kabul,
interrupting you
trying
here
to
for a
make sure
bit. Abhishek, I'm interrupting you because we have Colonel Shailendra Singh joining us on the phone line right now to give us his first response as Taliban has said that it will delay the government formation. Colonel Shailendra Singh, we've seen how the ISI chief has landed in Kabul this morning. There were multiple meetings between the Taliban delegation and Pakistan delegation as well. And amidst all this, we see that the Taliban is saying that they are delaying the announcement on a government. So how do you read into it? How do you read into this ISI interference or ISI forming the government for Taliban per se?
देखिए कितनी बढ़िया बात है कि अगर तालिबान अफगानिस्तान में सरकार नहीं बना पा रहा, उसकी कोई भी मजबूरी रही हो. The jitters have come to Pakistan, and the jitters have not come to Pakistan government. It has not come to Pakistan people. It has not come to Pakistan army. It has come straight to ISI. The ISI, who has been always claiming itself to be pious, कि नहीं जी हम तो कहीं पर कोई चीज गलत करते ही नहीं है. So, if anything happening along with Taliban, if it's getting into problem, the first reactant is the ISI chief, which clearly brings out to the world community who is the mastermind, the remote control, the brain behind Taliban. One of the active brain is ISI. And if ISI has been declared as the world over a notorious organization of Pakistan, what good it will bring into the government of Taliban or for that matter Afghanistan? Let me tell you, it's a very clear indication that yes, ISI would like to do every possible thing to make a Taliban sarkar which is within their control, which is run by them, which is remote controlled by them, which is able to bring about terror in the world. God bless world, you better wake up, otherwise ISI is here again to prove their role of negativity.
Thank you very much, Colonel Shailendra Singh, for joining us and giving us your first response.